Hello, everyone. It's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time for Life Strategies with Nat for the Entrepreneurial Woman. And if you're new to the live series, I did recently sort of rebrand things, but it was always about helping you live your best life, whatever that is for you, whether that's you want to improve your career, you want to improve your relationships, you want to improve your finances. Life is not one dimensional, it's three dimensional. And, the work that I do when I was, the training that I received and through wellness coaching and various other leadership courses and trainings that I did over, the course of my, career, corporate and entrepreneurial, um, it's something that you just have to be able to put yourself first. You have to be connected with mind, body, and soul for you to step into the person that you need to become to carry out, to reach your goals, to reach your highest potential, whatever that is. Because we all know that we should all know that we have incredible potential. Some of us don't know, I get that. And some of us think we're at our highest potential, but really there's all these other aspects that are at play. And it was funny, I was paying my CPA dues, which is my Chartered Professional Accounting dues, and I always reflect because that time, I think, I decided, this was going back to 2012, I decided that I needed a new challenge. I was getting restless at work. And even though after university I thought, I'm good, I don't need anything else, I was like, you know what, I need a new challenge. I want to do my CPA. Actually, it was the CMA at the time, Certified Management Accounting. And I loved it because it had the managerial, it had the strategy, and it also had the accounting piece that I knew is pretty much recession proof if you think about it. Like, and if anyone remembers 2008, 2009, which I'm sure you do, it wasn't the greatest time. And, I remember having to let people go, and it was just not nice. And there were definitely other reasons why I wanted to pursue that level of education, that post-grad education. And I'm so glad that I did, because now it's really helpful in terms of helping people with their insight, helping people with their business strategy. Even though I focus more on the wellness side of things right now, it's not to say that won't be a part, or it's not to say that potentially it won't become that in my mentorship program. But getting ahead of myself, don't want to make any spoilers. Back to the story at hand. We're talking about strategies. I actually came up with 6, but it was 5 strategies to overcome overwhelm. And I wanted to kind of take you back to just finishing off that story. Like when I had decided, I decided to actually do a part-time program. So I was schooling part-time for 3.5 years, and I was working full-time. And I had an amazing team. Like, I had an amazing support system, incredible mentors, incredible bosses. Like, that really helped. But I was in this constant state of go, go, go. And I had to say no to a lot of things. I definitely learned a lot about boundaries and about time management. But I didn't, at the time, manage my stress and my anxiety very well. And what ended up happening is, I ended up being in this constant state of stress, and that led to overwhelm. And it really kicked in when, after I graduated, hey Katie, after I graduated, I went into, I had done client services, operations, data integrity. I was ready for something new. So I went into sales and marketing, and it was a completely different area. And at the time I was on track. I really wanted to become and carve out, to be honest, a Chief Innovation Officer. That was my goal at that time. I loved improving things. I wanted things to be better. I wanted people to feel better about, where they work and everything like that. And I was in wealth management, so there's tons of innovation in that industry, just like there's tons of innovation everywhere, even coaches. Like there's just so much opportunity for change and growth. It's exciting. But I remember just coming into like this position where I was pretty much in charge of driving change within that department. So it was about creating efficiencies, helping people do their jobs better. It was incredible. It was like right up my alley. And the thing about transformation, change, especially in large organizations, it can get really hard if people aren't on board, or if people are in. I always find that there's kind of two camps. There's people that want change, they're receptive, and then people who are like, no, I'm good with things as they are. And, eventually, and I'm not saying it was the job per se, because it wasn't. It was a lot of other things. It was how I was eating. It was how I was, putting myself not first. Like I was, staying in a lot. I wasn't really moving. I kind of isolated myself, and this overwhelm got worse and worse, and to the point where like I had lots of headaches and lots of hip pain, and I knew that I needed to change. I knew that I needed to change, do a 360, 180 on my health and how I was feeling, and I wanted to feel that like joie de vivre. I wanted to feel alive again. And so that's when I embarked on this journey. And that's pretty much how I got to where I am right now. And I'm not going to spend too much time. I want to get into the actual training of it, because what I'm sharing with you are strategies that I used to pull myself out of, I'm going to call it even like a funk. It's one of those words that you can't really define unless you've gone through it, but it's just like this lackluster, like, meh, kind of checking out, like, going with the motions. Everything on the outside was good, but internally, like, it was just a struggle for me. And so that's what I really wanted to help you guys with today, because when you are, you could be starting a business, you could be starting a new, training, starting a new program, getting recertified, going back to school, anything that is gonna take you towards your goals. Because when you know your goals, your life goals, your business goals, relationship goals, you need to have goals for every element of your life. It's just, when we're progressing, we're happier. When we're moving in the direction that we want to, we feel amazing. But we need to have direction. We need to have clarity. We need to have, certainty that what we're doing is actually going to make a difference. It's going to help us reach our mission, our why we tick, that je ne sais quoi, I'm going to say. So, and I think it's really relevant too, because it kind of comes off with what we were talking about even just over the last month about imposter syndrome. And, if you identified with any of those types, like the perfectionist, the soloist, the expert, or the natural genius, and the expert, I should say, and the superwoman or man, whoever's watching. Hey, Mark. But yeah, so it's really about, honing in on, or just finding your center first. It's really about finding your center first. Hey, Sinai. And okay, so let's get into it. Let's get into these 5 strategies, because I think it will really help you. And it's funny, actually, this morning. Well, I'll tell you later. But okay, so the first strategy I'll say is you want to get clear on what you want. You want to have that, hey Phil, you want to have that direction on where it is that you're going. And if you guys are just joining, we're just talking about 5 strategies to overcome overwhelm. And, say hi in the comments if you're here, or hit hashtag replay. I always like to see who's here and say hello. If you have any questions as we're going along, definitely post those because I'm always coming back to check. But get clear on what you want. And if you don't know what you want, start with what you don't want. And I don't want you to we're not going to focus on what you don't want, but it does help you because everyone knows what they don't want. It's kind of funny that way. But if you're in that position where you're like, I don't know what I want, well then put in what you don't want and then make them opposites. So I don't want to be unreliable. Okay, so the opposite of that would be, I want to be reliable. How can you be more reliable? And then it's about attaching activities to that. It's like showing up on time, giving myself extra time to get to meetings, or planning more buffer time in my planner. Like, so having more flexibility, if that's the case. If you find like you're constantly rushing from one place to the other, then maybe you want to look at that piece and get clear on how you want to show up in that area of your life. And don't limit this to just your job, or just really get let loose and just really no limits. What do you want to do with your life? Like, you only have one. Like, it's such an exciting opportunity. And I know that in itself can seem overwhelming, but don't get lost in that. Think of the opportunity that you have here to really make an amazing life for yourself. Sorry, I was going to say, also think about what's important to you. So think about what matters. You can even go back to your values, because the thing is that as you grow, as you reach new levels of success, your definition of success changes. And when that happens, you have to revisit your values because your values are likely changing. If you're at a point when you're hitting 6 figures and you're feeling like you want more free time, well, what are you doing that you can leverage out? Or what are you doing that you can maybe hire someone to take on? Or maybe you can automate it. Anyway, there's so many different ways you can go about that. And then the second thing, this kind of is the second strategy around this, is getting clear on what you're doing. So it's kind of taking it a step further, right? So now that you know what you want, it's about, okay, how can you get there? What are you doing to get there? I see so many times people, they're really frustrated with where they're at. But when you go and ask them, okay, tell me, how do you know you're not being successful in that? And it could be a goal. It could be, you're not meeting your income goals, you're not meeting your finance goals, or you're not meeting your fitness goals. I mean, there's so many, it's really so independent and depends on what you want. That's why you need to do the first part first, the first strategy first. So getting clear what you want, getting clear on what you're doing. Have you ever caught yourself, it's in half an hour or 20 minutes and you're like, oh my God, I've been scrolling Facebook or scrolling Instagram, and you're like, crap, I wasn't supposed to be doing that. Hands up, give me some likes if you find yourself in this, because I sure do. And it's something that the more you become aware of it, the more you ask yourself, what am I doing? How is this helping me towards my goal? And it happens especially if you're an online business, if you are the one managing your social media accounts. It's so easy to be like, oh, I just need to go to Facebook to get this link, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, what did so and so say? And oh, what did and I'm harping on social media, but distractions come in all shapes and sizes. But this is really about okay, what am I doing it and why am I doing it? So, I had a coach once, and she was watching Oprah, and she had told me this story. So I can't say verbatim that this happened, but she was telling me she was watching one of Oprah's shows, and Oprah was saying, you got to know why you're doing anything. You got to know why you're anywhere. And that is really about taking control of your life and really being purposeful with your time. And that's what this strategy is all about. It's about getting purposeful with your time. And then the third thing is about, like, when you make your goals. So I'm just looking at my notes. When you make your goals, make sure you have an action plan with them. And an action plan is like, it's the task you have to do, it's when you have to do it by, and you have a metric as well for that goal. Like, okay, so if you want to get fit, if you want to have more energy, well, one of those things that you can do is get to the gym 3 times a week. Okay, when are you going to do that? That's more of a continuous goal. But you also have goals that are just like one-offs. But you don't know unless you take the time to actually specify. Okay, it's one thing to say, this is what I want, this is my goal, but you have to make it specific. You have to make it measurable. You have to make it actionable. It's got to be relevant and realistic, and it has to be timely. Some people say SMART goals are just for corporate, but I think that they apply here too, just in general life. It's just it's just about making it more achievable and more deliberate. Like, it's all about being deliberate. And so that you have like a plan and make buffers. Like, if you think something's going to take you 3 hours, maybe tack on an extra half hour, an hour, maybe split it up into 2 chunks so that, you can see, okay, the first part took me this time. Oh, maybe the second time's going to take me a bit longer. But you know where this is at. And, if you ever need help with this, like, just, again, ask questions in the comments or reach out to me directly. So the 4th strategy is plan to plan. I'm not even joking. Like, plan to make time for planning. Like, because if it's not in your plan, if it's not in your calendar, like, I plan every week. It used to be Sundays. Now I do Fridays, just because it gives me that like extra few days to rejig things. But, if you have a planner, and I hope you do, if you don't, go out and get a planner that you just like love to open. Like, I got a passion planner. I know lots of people love their passion planner, but you can get something else. Like, there was one I used to use and I loved it, but name's escaping me. I'll think about it. But, like, think about how you want to work. Like, is it 30-minute increments that you want to be able to plans with palm tree? Do you want to have space in there that you can like jot down ideas? I like to keep track of good things that happened in the week so that I can reflect back. Another great way to kind of sidebar to handle overwhelm is to remember, just take a moment, and be like, yeah, this is good things that happened this week. Just remind yourself, like, okay, everything's going to be okay. And then the 5th strategy is like, don't forget about life. Like, we get so caught up in just the motion of doing things sometimes, to be honest. We get so caught up in our careers and our work. If we're workaholics, like I used to be, I still am from time to time, but I'm a healthy workaholic, if that makes sense. Maybe not. But my definition, I guess, of workaholic has changed. But no, I'm just going to leave that there. No, workaholic is not a good word to use there. But it's all good. So, like, this is about setting boundaries. This is about saying no to things that you don't want to do. And I'm not talking about things that you have to do as like a self-discipline perspective. I'm talking about, saying no to people that don't make you feel good. Like, if you have that friend that you've had since like forever and they're like, just not do, or you maybe just met someone and you're like, actually you're not, it's not questionable. or you're not eating well, and like make a point to just eat better. You can still have your sweets and things, just within limits, right? This is about balance, and you can't be 100% balanced. That's just unrealistic. But this is about being balanced, that you can do the things that you need to do without feeling negative. Know your values. So I'm going back to values again, because I think they're so important. And we do this in the first part of my 6-month mentorship program, because it's so important. And it's about saying yes to opportunities as well. Like, say yes to things, even if they scare you. If you have a presentation that someone wants you to do it. I know you're petrified maybe of public speaking, or you feel like you don't know what to say, but just do it. You will get there. You just have to kind of push yourself sometimes. And then the 6th one, which is kind of a bonus, it's not really a bonus. It's really one of the main things, but it's like learning to manage your emotions, learning to manage your feelings, learning to manage your thoughts. Your health mentally and physically is so important. And this is a huge thing for overwhelm. Like, if your mind is running 1,000,000 miles a minute, it's going to be so hard to just keep focused on one thing. Like, I was guilty of this in the sense that, like, you want it, when you overcomplicate things, it's like this feeling like you're working so hard, so you're being super productive, but it's like, are you? Like, we want to kiss, right? We want to keep it simple, stupid. And this is where, like, things like food is your best friend. Food is like, Dr. Oz talks about this all the time. I don't know if you follow him or watch his show, but he's all about helping people, come back to basics, like, food, essential oils. Like this morning I had, do I have it here? Yeah, I had Peace and Calming. Like, this has jasmine in it. It's like my favorite, but that's lovely. But I mean, I use food, I use essential oils, I use meditation. I just came from yoga. Like, you have to move your body, and that's why the elements of your life are so important. And it's not good to have so heavily vested in one area and not pay attention to the rest, because there is a ripple effect. Maybe you start noticing that you get snippy with people. Maybe you feel so exhausted all the time that you just like can't even think straight. And to be honest, when you get to this point, like, you have to just stop, okay? You just have to, like, of all these strategies, and maybe this is strategy number 7, but just stop. Stop what you're doing. There's no point of continuing in this state of mind, or state of being, I'm going to say. Because if you're overwhelmed, you're not thinking clearly. You're going to probably make bad decisions. You're probably going to snap at somebody. And so start to pay attention to those signals that are actually a sign that you are in overwhelm. And, overwhelm is before burnout. So, you want to nip it as soon as you can, because being burnt out, like, literally I think a lot of people overuse that word burnout, but when you're burnt out, like, that is bad. Like, that is like, you could be dealing with depression. You can't even get out of bed. Like, you just have zero energy, zero zest for life. And I don't want you to get there. So, I'm going to stop it there, because I could literally probably come up with another, like, few strategies. So anyway, so I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. And be here next week. We are having a guest. Her name is Bethany, and she's going to be talking about health stuff. So that's exciting, because in June, that's what I'm going to be focusing on, getting more back to to body health. And yeah, so if you have any ideas or anything comes to mind, just let me know. And until next time, have a wonderful day. See ya.